traditional spray and pray approaches to agriculture are now being replaced by precision ag tools, enabling farmers to apply crop inputs exactly where they're needed. But even when farmers are spraying on target, many of them don't know if they're spraying the right amount or if that spray is actually staying on the plant in a way that makes a difference, says the founder of AgZen.
So Real Coverage is the world's first system that closes the loop on input application for pesticides, right? So what it does is it measures and optimizes how many droplets are on every leaf that you're trying to spray, be it the weed or the crop. In its current iteration, it's a bolt-on product. It can go on any sprayer, no matter how old or how new, and optimize sprays. And what it helps farmers do is get lower cost for their sprays and also achieve better outcomes. So better weed control, better disease control, all while spraying 30 to 50% less product.
So it's like a unit with cameras on at base.
Exactly. So in real time, we're measuring how many droplets got on the weeds or on the crop. It can see the smallest droplets that farmers use all the way to the biggest, up to 3 feet into the canopy, but it doesn't stop at measurement. That's the beautiful thing. In real time, there's a tablet in the cab that's telling growers what's the right pressure, what's the right boom height, what's the right sprayer speed, the right droplet size to use, so that they're getting the maximum efficacy on their spray while using the minimal amount of input. And at the start of every spray, it's also helping them pick the right nozzle and the right adjuvant. Now, historically, the challenge has been a grower, when faced with that choice of how do I pick the right nozzle, they're faced with a catalog that's about 1,000 pages big, and they have to pick the right nozzle without having any information on how does that nozzle actually do in terms of getting product on the plant. And that's the same story for adjuvants like surfactants, whatever it may be, where the job of that product is to get more on the plant, but you've never had a way to measure what's on the plant. And now with our tool, we've streamlined the decision-making process for growers. And what was really impactful to see is last year we were on 65,000 acres across 7 units that were deployed all across the US, especially in the Midwest, with row crop growers, soybean, corn, and cotton. And we were able to change, in our first year, every single grower changed fundamental things about how they spray. 80% of our growers switched or tried a new adjuvant. 60% of our growers tried a new nozzle. 80% of our growers optimized their speed, optimized their boom height. 100% of them optimized droplet size. These are influences on decision making that we were able to have in our first year with our growers in the first commercial season. So that speaks volumes, I think, to the power of removing the blindfold, because we bolted it on and immediately growers were starting to make decision changes that fundamentally affected outcomes on their field. And we saw that as well. So that was really exciting.
So your second product is enhanced coverage. So my understanding, this is a nozzle that kind of cloaks droplets with adjuvants rather than simply kind of mixing them in. Is that right? So they're more likely to stick to a plant?
Yeah, enhanced coverage really comes from our foundational understanding that we developed at the Varanasi lab at MIT of what actually makes droplets stick to plants, right? The challenge is you want to reduce the dynamic surface tension of droplets quickly enough before they bounce off. And conventionally, when you mix surfactants into the tank, it's challenging for these molecules to make it to that droplet leaf interface. And what we found is by cloaking these droplets, we could get around the diffusion related issues that prevent these droplets from sticking and get the same droplet with the same adjuvant at the same rate to stick instead of bounce. And we came up with a whole set of proprietary nozzles and nozzle bodies to implement this. And that's what enhanced coverage is. What we call it is a force multiplier. So Real Coverage, the biggest outcome that we did for growers on 65,000 acres last year was to double the amount of product on every leaf without changing the volumetric rate. Now what I want to emphasize that a little bit, which is at the same gallon per acre rate, we can get 2 times the amount of herbicide or fungicide or insecticide on the leaves you're trying to spray. Now that's incredibly powerful for outcomes. And now to get back to where you were, it gives you room to cut down. What enhanced coverage does is take that doubling and double it again. So now you're going to have 4 times as much product on every leaf at the same volumetric rate, thanks to not only optimization and monitoring at a droplet on a leaf scale, but also by fundamentally changing the interaction between the droplet and the leaf. So we primarily serve row crop growers all across the US. But we're crop agnostic because our system is about optimizing droplet coverage on target, right? And so that allows us to go from corn to soybeans to cotton to specialty, but our primary focus is on large row crop farms. And we've tried to make it as turnkey as possible to the point where the entire installation process takes 4 hours.
Right.
So a grower calls us, we have a nationwide network of dealers. One of our dealers will bring a unit either to their farm or they'll drive their unit to a dealership site, and it gets bolted on in 4 hours. We put the sensors on there, we put a tablet in the cab, we hook up to the battery, but then it's ready to go.
Yeah.
And it's been really amazing to see how quickly we've grown because we went from 2 years ago not having a single paid acre to last year we did 7 units and 65,000 acres. And this year we're on 920,000 acres. Growers are adopting our real coverage system in one of 2 ways. So we have a lease to own program where essentially they're paying for the unit over 18 months. There's an upfront payment of $32,500, and there's 2 more payments that come in at the end of the first season, at the end of the second season, after which they own the unit. We also have growers that just buy the unit upfront outright for $97,500.
So you can buy it up front, or it's kind of lease to own kind
Correct.
of contract. And how quickly might you see a return?
So within the first year is what the system returns for on the buy price. So on the $97,500 buy price, our system on 5,000 acres of soybeans pays for itself within 1 season. And that's been incredibly powerful, especially when combined with our lease to own model, because growers are getting so much benefit every season they're using it. And that was intentional. We wanted to put our money where our mouth was in terms of giving growers value that they could see within 30 seconds of turning it on, for the whole unit to pay for itself within a year, and they're getting, a drastic improvement to their input application.